This is the PR Podcast, a show about how public relations helps you tell your story to the world. We talk with great PR practitioners who have the skills, creativity, and just plain savvy to get their clients noticed. Now here's your host, Jody Fisher.
Hey everyone, and welcome to the PR Podcast. I'm Jody Fisher. Thanks for joining us. Well, don't forget that we have a YouTube channel. Podcasting is an audio medium, and going back to the days when podcasting first took off, I can remember sitting with I think it was my iPod Shuffle, I'm not even sure, on the Long Island Railroad going back and forth to New York City, and podcasts were all the rage. They're still all the rage, but now you can watch them as well as listen to them, and that goes for us. We have a YouTube channel. Check us out at The PR Podcast. You can watch shows as well as listen to shows, so you can see me here in the PR garage, and you can see our guests wherever they are in the world. So do check us out, subscribe, hit the notification button, all the things the streamers say that I don't know what they're talking about. But check us out there on YouTube. All right, now with our show for today, we've got another international guest. G.C. Murray II, Esquire, is an award-winning attorney, executive coach, and an author of A Greater Challenge, a Nonprofit Guidebook, a practical roadmap to building authentic impact rooted in leadership, inclusion, and service. With recognition from the American Bar Association and the National Bar Association for his integrity and service-driven leadership, he now brings that same discipline to reputation, communications, and storytelling. G.C., welcome to the PR Podcast.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it, particularly after Kaylee, who was, not so fond of lawyers. And so I'm happy to be the next guest here.
Well, we're glad to have you on. And for those people who didn't listen, I think Kaylee said that she had toyed with being a lawyer early in her career, and she was glad she figured out that she didn't want to be a lawyer. But we'll move on to the fact that, GC, we find you in Indonesia at 2:00 in the morning. Thank you for joining us. It's such a crazy hour locally for you.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate you accommodating the schedule.
Yeah. So the intro said it all, right? You are an attorney, you are an author. But what interested me about bringing you on the show that typically talks about public relations and news was the fact that you are very interested, and your practice really centers on reputation, communications, and storytelling. Tell us a little bit about your practice, and let's get into that storytelling piece of things.
Yeah, no problem. So for the last 13 years, I've been the CEO and managing attorney of Association GC, which is essentially a boutique firm that focuses on across 4 different divisions. I won't bore you with all of them, but for your audience, the one division that really matters is our Greatness Communicated division, which is our communications and PR and media division, where we really focus on digital outreach and just storytelling for those with the best stories, who oftentimes are the ones who are the least willing to share those stories. So we try to help them amplify their voices. And through my understanding of the law and through my experience, I'm able to help them craft a narrative that hopefully wins and compels people to act.
So in my career, I've worked a lot with attorneys, typically in crisis situations, or maybe when legal briefs are filed or there's a court case ongoing. And I typically take, and I think a lot of PR people typically take the approach of, hey, it's okay if we need to take a little bit of a loss on the PR front, as long as we preserve the ability to win in the courtroom, right? You, being both a communicator and an attorney, give us your approach to working with clients in that way.
So when you're dealing with an emergency situation, to me, you just need to listen to what my mom says. And she always said that when you find yourself in a hole, first thing first, you got to stop digging, right? And you could tell what kind of kid I was growing up, right? So, you know, one of the things you have to do, to me, as a lawyer and a communicator, right? Trying to win both in the actual courtroom, but also in the court of public opinion, you have to stop digging. You have to understand that more often than not, the cover up is far worse than the actual crime itself or the actual incident itself. It's the cover up. So the first thing, relax, calm down, and try to get to the facts. The biggest hurdle for any situation is the facts, right? And ultimately, understanding the facts, having control of the facts. You'll probably hear me say narrative control a lot because that's what I preach to my clients. Trying to get narrative control because it works in cases, and it works in the PR world. Like trying to understand the story and present the story as authentically and as accurately as possible, so we can survive scrutiny.
Are there critical pieces you think of the narrative control that are essential? You talked about facts, but can you drill down on the facts a little bit? Have you seen and maybe think of, we can protect, leave out the names to protect the innocent and the guilty. But are there specific ways that you can control that narrative?
I just want to say that all my clients are innocent, but no, truth be told, no. Understanding the facts is critical because a lot of times people will think that they've done something wrong when technically they didn't. You're well within the realm of what you're
That's
allowed to
interesting
do.
because I would think a lot of people think they're innocent when they've done something wrong.
Probably, but from the organizational standpoint, a lot of times, it's like you did something that the community frowns upon. You did something that the public says this is not up to the standard that we believe you all should, hold yourselves to. But you didn't legally do any missteps per se, and so being able to navigate that. But the only way to prove that up, the only way to get a hold of that is understanding the facts. What laws are in play? Are we dealing with state? Are we dealing with local ordinances? Are we dealing with federal law? Getting an understanding of what are the rules of this game that we're going to end up playing, and figuring that out first and foremost, kind of lays the map for how we navigate the terrain of whatever the incident or the emergency situation is. And so to do that, you have to start off with fact finding. And that means interviewing people, that means preserving evidence. And that's another thing. When you do have an emergency situation, first thing first, calm down. You're not going to be able to fix it immediately, and start preserving evidence. Then the next thing is to call your counsel, so that they can help you with an understanding of what are the facts. What are facts? What are opinions? And let's focus on the facts, drill down the facts, and then so we can apply those to the laws that we think are applicable.
Yeah, it's a great perspective that you bring there because I think both attorneys and public relations professionals, perhaps from their own perspective, but both agree on the need to drive towards a factual storytelling type of a narrative, right? That making up platitudes or even inventing situations not going to help you in PR, not going to help you in a courtroom, right?
Well, you know, many, many sage lawyers have told me when you have the facts, you bang the facts. When you don't have the facts, you bang the table, because you have to do something to protect your client. We're charged with zealously advocating. So if all the facts are not necessarily on my side, for example, but one of the things that the other counsel has presented is slightly inaccurate, if I can just focus in on that and explaining how this inaccuracy might mean that everything that this counsel has said is inaccurate, or just take away their reputation, take away their control over the narrative, then I may be able to get a win for my client, even if the facts aren't necessarily on our side.
So you combine the two disciplines of legal and public relations. Really, you have like two superpowers in one person there, right, GC? Do you find that that is an advantage in serving your clients, having both, the legal background and the legal degree, as well as the public relations and the storytelling?
I certainly like to think so. What I bring to clients is the understanding of the guardrails. Here's the what we can and cannot do, right? And then once you're in a frame of I can do these things, then your creativity can explode, right? But oftentimes my biggest worry for clients, particularly clients that do things before they talk to me, is that you've designed a plan, you've built everything up, but you didn't follow the law. And sometimes the law is, very simple. We all know, okay, you have to stop at red lights, things of that nature. but sometimes the law is extremely nuanced, and there are you know little codes that you just didn't know about that severely affect whether or not you're allowed to present information in particular ways. And so being able to, as a lawyer, understand those and know those and apply those beforehand means that people's creativity can truly, um, you know, be creative. And I think that allows them to better tell their stories in ways that will survive, again, survive scrutiny. And I think once you start understanding this is the way we're supposed to present information legally, then I think you also get used to presenting it that way, and it gives you a better cadence, gives you a better rhythm with your, depending on what kind of client, but with the audience that you're trying to reach.
Yeah, preserving reputation is probably one of the most important things that any business and any individual can really do. And, as they say, it takes a lifetime to build a reputation and one bad decision to ruin it, right?
Yeah.
How does understanding that, how does that sharpen the way that you work with your clients, and maybe we in general need to craft messages, the way we choose counsel, whether it's you or anybody else, how we talk to outside groups? How can PR teams adopt more of that sort of legal discipline?
So my dad's a sitting judge in Miami, Florida. But before that, he was a practicing attorney, solo practitioner in the same way that I'm a solo practitioner. And one of the things he taught me very early on in my pursuit of the law is that your reputation is the thing that gets to the court before you and stays in the court long after you've left. And it goes back to being able to survive scrutiny and in terms of what you say and what you articulate in front of the court. And you got to keep in mind now, normally I'm talking about trial work, but this really cuts across all aspects of the law. You are constantly having to survive scrutiny, whether it's by the counsel on the opposing side, and their zealous advocacy. Obviously, they're trying to win and they're trying to say that everything you're saying, the opposite is true. So you have to survive scrutiny of what you put forward, because if they could pick apart anything, they can pick apart everything, right? But then you also have to survive the scrutiny of the judge. The judge is often presented with two seemingly equal arguments that are clearly, in some respects, debatable, right? Which is why you're at the trial level. And so ultimately, the best story wins. And the best stories oftentimes are told by the best storytellers. And the best storytellers typically are the ones who have the best reputations. And so it's just kind of the same thing in the PR world. Like, in order to be, you know, to have crisis proof communication, you really have to have a stellar reputation built up. And it's just one of those things that I think every PR firm should focus on, ensuring that the people you're bringing on, the clients that you're bringing on, that they have a stellar reputation. Now, granted, you can't always get that right. You can't always pick your perfect client. Sometimes you got to get whoever comes in the door, right? I did income law when I first started. Whatever came in, I did it. So you can't always pick your favorite perfect client, but I think you always have to try to rehabilitate that image so that even going forward, they can start surviving that scrutiny.
Is there a way that you vet out your perfect client, or the type of client that is perfect for you?
Yeah, I've been in a blessed situation where now we are really truly able to help clients that we want to help, right? And the people I want to help are the people I described earlier, who are the ones with the absolute best stories to tell, but are the least likely to tell that story. The people that are taking their light, right, and they're shining it under a bushel. And I get the chance to try to walk them towards their righteous destiny, get them to the top of that hill and shine it for everybody. And I love that. And typically, those people don't come with a lot of baggage outside of their own, self-perceived doubts. Other than that, and defeating that, which is always a interesting thing that you got to do. But other than that, these my clients typically come from a space of having a good idea and having a good heart to match. And then now we just got to find a way to get them a good voice.
Yeah, I work with the same types of clients, and you are absolutely right. They are a joy to work with. because they have good stories to tell. And for storytellers like us, it's just gold. It's like, okay, we're going to work on this one, then we're going to work on this one, then we're going to do that. You can really see it just unspool in the first conversation when you're talking with them. Um, so how, in your view, what does a leader or communicator have to do, or maybe what they should not do when their reputation is under pressure? What maybe you've got the crisis situation, fine, the fire, the car wreck, or the whatever sort of, people are in mortal danger kind of thing, or maybe it's a crisis of reputation. What does a leader or communicator have to do, and what should they never do when they get in that type of a situation?
Hmm. I think that's an excellent question. I think what you have to do happens way before the actual incident itself, right? I talk a lot when I do the executive coaching side. I have a course dealing with the commerce of relationships. And part of that is getting a better understanding of how you communicate as a leader, right? Because everyone talks, right? Everyone speaks, but not everyone communicates. And the narrative behind that is essentially saying, hey, look, you have to think of your reputation as a savings, right? And every single day, uh, and every major moment, you are constantly adding to that savings account, right? You're constantly depositing uh, some form of verisimilitude. And when you're dealing with this emergency situation, now you can do a withdrawal based on your reputation that you've built up. But you can't withdraw if you have nothing in there, right? So the first thing is way before building that reputation by being honest, by being authentic, and by being consistent. A lot of times I feel like clients they want to communicate perfectly in lieu of communicating consistently. And to me, by far the most impactful is communicating consistently. So that's the first thing. Well before the incident has happened, you should have built up that reputation as a leader. But then the next thing is don't rush. Don't rush. I kind of said this earlier, what my mom taught me, stop digging. Um, and I get it. You want to be proactive. You want to show, hey, the leader knows what he's doing. The leader's doing something. But the truth is, oftentimes when you yourself are feeling a certain level of stress and that cognitive load is too high, you start making missteps. But if you just take a beat, I'm not advocating not to be quick, but I am advocating not to rush. If you just take a beat, if you just think a little bit, then I think you can get clarity. And a leader should only speak and move when the leader finally has clarity over the situation. Now, in terms of what to never do, don't lie. Don't lie, don't lie, don't lie. And I mean lying in two ways. I mean, obviously don't tell a mistruth, but also don't lie by obfuscation. I don't want you to hide and do smoke and mirrors in order to get away with, something that's quasi true but not necessarily accurate or not necessarily reflective of the true situation. So those are kind of the bigger things. And I know that a lot of times people want to say something immediately, right? Want to get in front of everything because people perceive silence as a weakness. But if you're properly trained and if you're a true leader and if you have reserves in that savings account reputationally, then I think silence is a strategy.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, people love to hit that easy button, right? When something goes wrong, right? They want to just push the magic button and go back to the way it was as fast
Yeah.
as possible. And what I'm hearing from you, and I share the same opinion, is that going back to normal, quote unquote, is a process in itself. And you have to
Yeah.
take it one step at a time, or to use your analogy, one shovel dig at a time, right? Or maybe
Yeah.
stop digging, which I really love. Um, you know, so you're working with nonprofits, you're working with other types of organizations to tell those great stories. Um, are there moments where you need to sort of, from a storytelling perspective, that you need to point out to them things that they're not doing that they could be doing that would help them be more effective storytellers? But putting aside the crisis piece of things for a second, right? But drilling down on the how you build reputation, one brick at a time. Um, have you ever had to sort of point out to a client and say, hey, you're hiding that thing that you do really well. Let's bring that out front and center and tell a story about it.
All the time. All the time, because just like you, the clients, they have the good energy, but they don't have the best voice, right? They're the, what is it, the frog that can sing, right? When you're with them, they're singing beautifully. But when you get them in front of people, just ribbits, right? And so, what I do with my clients, and I do this with our judicial campaign division as well, we do a task called Prove It. And a lot of times, everyone thinks that they have this narrative, right? This is what we do, right? We do mentorship, service, and professional development. And so, our simple retort to them is, okay, prove it. Show me where you have some collateral that shows that you do mentorship. And then you just start walking them back and reverse engineering. Well, what does it mean to do mentorship? Well, it means that we're interacting with the kids. Okay, show me anything with you interacting with children. Anything on the website, anything on your social, et cetera, et cetera. And then you start peeling back the layers, and then you truly help them get a better understanding of what you're doing and what you're presenting aren't necessarily the same thing. And the closer we get to presenting what you're doing, the better the outcomes will be.
Hey, last question as we round out the conversation here. Tell us a little bit about your book there, A Greater Change, a Nonprofit Guidebook, which, as we said in the intro, is a practical roadmap to building authentic impact. Tell us a little bit about that. Why'd you write that?
So I started, committing to community service back in high school. I had a buddy of mine who had $20, and there was four of us, and we went to Wendy's. This is back when I'm dating myself, but this is back when the dollar menu was like truly the dollar menu. I think it was like a dollar, even
I
including the
remember
tax,
that.
right?
Go ahead.
You remember that, right? Yeah. So normally, right, you think, hey, you can get a burger, you get some fries. I have $20, everyone can spend two, and then we're good. No, not what he did. And this is attorney Kenneth Edgenay, if he's watching, he better be watching. No, he gave everyone $5, allowing us all to use all of his money, but to get the most out of the situation. And something about that just had a profound impact on me. And I started committing to community service pretty much from then on. In high school, I started projects. The major one was the When No One Is Looking project, where I wanted to do a canned good drive and used professional clothing and used clothing and do a giveaway during the non-holiday seasons, because what I saw was during Christmas, during Thanksgiving, everyone was giving, and that's wonderful. But the need doesn't stop. The need persists. And I wanted to find a way to bridge that gap and do something. Ultimately, after law school, I kind of started making money. The firm was doing well. And then any good lawyer will tell you, the first thing you got to do is you got to start protecting your assets. And so I went from uh, doing these good deeds, just trying to do these good deeds, to saying maybe we should make an organization that can do the good deeds, and then we can be a little protected in case worst case scenarios. And then that's how the Innovative Community Engagement Foundation was founded. And since then, we focus on mentorship, service, and professional development. And so the book basically goes through our first 10 years and me giving the best practices for nonprofits, but also a story of how that actually plays out. Because, sponsorship, for example, everyone says, hey, go and get a sponsor. But the reality is, here's the real stuff that you need to do to even get a sponsor. Telling me to get a sponsor doesn't really help. It's like, walk me through the narrative of how do I get a sponsor? What can I be doing beforehand, et cetera, to really build into that. That's kind of what the book does.
Well, we will definitely check it out. And it sounds like you're a huge asset to your clients. This has been a great conversation, GC. Thanks so much for sharing your story.
Well, again, I appreciate you having me on. I appreciate you allowing me to talk about something I'm very passionate about, and I hope to be on again.
That sounds great. We're not done with you yet, however. We're not letting you go. We are going to segue now into the rapid fire question portion of our podcast. This is where we steal a page from inside the actor's studio. We ask our guests a series of rapid fire questions meant to elicit a simple answer, maybe a laugh or two. With your indulgence, GC, let's begin with rapid fire question number 1. What's your favorite news source?
Favorite news source? I'm gonna have to go with CNN. If you're asking for particular mediums, I enjoy being able to read things. So CNN.com, being able to read stories and then kind of skim them and get a better understanding of larger issues.
It seems like everything is a news aggregator these days. It just doesn't seem like there's one outlet anymore.
Yeah.
A rapid fire question number 2. What's your favorite social media platform?
But I gotta go LinkedIn. LinkedIn seems to have, I don't know, it just allows me to use my voice a little bit clearer, speaking to professionals about professional things. So yeah, I like LinkedIn.
Love it. Rapid fire question number 3. Coffee or alcohol?
I'm a lawyer. I feel like alcohol is part of the profession, but I'm gonna have to go with coffee since I'm over here in Indonesia. They're big on coffee here, so coffee.
Give us a little education here. Indonesia, is the coffee any specifically different than it is in the United States? You get
And
spicier
I can
coffee, you get better tasting coffee. I mean, what is it?
it's unique, right? So they talk about the different grounds that the fertile grounds that grow this coffee, but they're mostly famous for a particular type of coffee. And I'm not saying I drink this, but it's a particular type of coffee that comes from the poop of a civet, which is essentially a mongoose. So a mongoose eats these seeds, poops it out, they get them, they roast them, and allegedly it is delicious. So I'm not here to shame anyone for their culinary delights, but that's something certainly that has led to Indonesia being like one of the coffee capitals of the Southeast Asia.
Whatever works, baby, right? Whatever works. All right, let's go with rapid fire question number 4. What's your favorite on the run food? Boy, there's a segue, huh?
I know, right? On the run food, man, that's tough. If I could get a mezza bowl, that would be my number one. I've come to love that. My wife put me on when we were up in DC, and this is delicious. So on the run, I'm going mezza.
Sounds good. And easy to carry in the bowl, too, right?
Yep, yep,
And
exactly.
rapid fire question number 5. What do you want to be after you finish this career?
Rich, uh, rich, content, happy, alive. No, I mean, probably just like I want to work with a nonprofit, be an executive director to a small nonprofit.
Well, you would be a huge asset to whoever you're working with. GC, this has been a great conversation. Please let people know how they can find you online.
Oh man, you can check us out at associationgc.law or association.law, excuse me. You can also check us out and you can find me at every major social platform, GC Murray. You can find me on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, X, all of them. We're there.
We'll put all the links in the show notes. Thanks again, GC. And thank you, everyone, for listening. Please remember to subscribe to the show. Connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at The PR Podcast, and send us a question or a comment. Our intro is by Christopher Apple. You can find him and his fantastic photography on Instagram at Christopher_APPOLDT. Check him out there and hire him for all your photography needs. You can find me online at Jody Fisher on all the socials and on the web at jodyfisherpr.com. We'll see you next time on the PR Podcast.